Hey, everybody. Welcome to Exit Stage Left. I am your host, Neethi Bali, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here on North Carolina. And we are people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We're shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we are sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. If you have any questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. Today, I am joined by Tammy Healy, the host of the American States Assembly's podcast and the co-leader of the Outreach Think Tank. Welcome, Tammy. I hope you're having a fantastic. It's so beautiful and sunny here today. How's it looking up there with you?
We had sun yesterday and sun today, and so I've been trying to get outside as much as possible to try to soak up that vitamin D and just, the warmth of the sun. It just feels good for sure.
Yes, it feels really
I
good.
think later I'm going to go out and, walk around the park a little bit too later. So we're doing great here.
Good.
Yeah, our snow is finally melting.
Something's going on. We had such a huge jump in temperature, but we're not going to act like we don't know what's happening. We know it's being manipulated. It's okay. It's just, I kind of really miss the natural transition of things.
I think we all do, for sure.
Yeah. We'll be working on getting back to that. But today, you guys, we have a great topic. I'm very excited about it because I feel the topic that we want to talk about is basically the way that the corporatocracy is coercing and controlling basically the people at large in a very unnatural way. And, it's called branding.
Manipulative way.
Yes. And branding is something that you normally would do to your cattle. But also it is a way to suppress and control the mind. And so our corporations have done a phenomenal job of really making it they're very proficient in executing this branding. And I have to tell you, I'm not really branded. I never know what anything is, like it was a joke before because I couldn't tell you like a Coach bag from a whatever. I don't even know what the other bags are, but because it doesn't matter to me. But that isn't the only kind of branding. Now, what's happened with this corporate branding is they've really violated living men in such an obscene way that they, I have been saying this, Tammy, for years, that that there is a race to control the minds of all living men. And the corporatocracy, this is a whole mentalism thing, you guys. Everything goes back to the natural, universal, hermetically sealed laws. And the first law is mentalism. And this conversation today is to help point out to everyone. Hopefully, we're able to point out to you guys how they're doing it in a way to expose them and hopefully help you recognize any place that you might be falling into their traps. What do you think, Tammy? Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, we've all been, manipulated and socially engineered. I mean, that's really what is happening here. When you talk about branding, it's really they slap labels on people and label them, like you have to choose, right? Like we can even go back. And I think, the gentleman that that put together this video that we're going to show today, gets a little bit into the politics of things. And if you actually go on social media, you could see it firsthand that there is a hatred of the opposite of whatever your political party is, right? So if you're a conservative, it's the liberal that's your enemy, and vice versa. If you're a liberal, then it's the conservative that's your enemy. And they keep these two fashions fighting with each other. And I like to call it spinning on the hamster wheel, because you're
True.
just spinning and trying to fight something that really is not a fight to be fought.
It's not
And
real. It's
and
not
it's
real.
no, it's not real. It's not real at all. And it's been fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the propaganda. He gets into a little bit of like the symbols,
Yeah.
right? Like symbols can be good for good reasons, right? But just as there's always a side of pure light and goodness, there's also the opposite side of evil and darkness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh when my son was little, he could always recognize the symbols on the cars, right? Like their little things that
Logos. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And he'd be able to spot out, and he could recognize it. And these were things that, he had fun doing when he was traveling in the car. But, for all sakes and purposes, we were never supposed to be labeled as a Republican or conservative or liberal or Democrat. We were just supposed to be mankind, men and women that live our lives, and everybody is entitled to their opinions. And and then if we're debating a topic that is of interest to the public, our debates have to come from facts and evidence, not just a belief. And we talked about that last time. But I think for most people, because like you said, Neethi, these people are so clever at learning how the mind works and how the human emotions work. And then they use manipulation tactics to push buttons to trigger an emotion and to trigger a response. And which is why we have so many people these days that are on social media, having senseless debates, and literally,
these false they have these false beliefs. So what's happening, like you're referencing politics, but let's be honest, they want to create a divide on anything. They're anything that they can create some moral outrage.
your skin color, your hair color, your language, the clothes you wear, the way you walk. I mean, there's so many things.
The fact that you're a man or a woman, and then but you're supposed to be able to be anything that you want. So maybe you're a furry. I don't really know. I mean, they just anything that they can create to cause any disagreement between any two people for any reason whatsoever.
Division.
And then they kind of just go with the goers, like whatever the firestorm is, they're just like, yes, as long as because what their intention is to keep you so morally outraged and on fire about something that they want you to, it could be anything. They don't really care. It needs to be anything, because what they don't want
is unity.
They don't want peace. They don't want you to be able to be at peace or be in peace or be in peace and quiet. If you had quiet, the biggest fear they have is that you might think. And if you think for yourself, all of a sudden, now you're operating in what is actually real. So let's just go ahead and define a couple of things. There's real, what is real? And then there's less than real, which is you add an ITY to it. So it becomes reality. And so we are responsible for creating our own reality, which means that we make real choices based on our thoughts and emotions and actions. And this results in our actual experience. But let's go to the thing and let the guy explain to everybody like how they're doing this, because it's really clever. He spent a lot of time doing this, and it's brilliant. It's very succinct. Yeah. And I guess we'll just go laid out. It really is. We'll go like point by point, okay, friends? And is that cool if I go ahead and start it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm about to unpack something that is horrifying, predictable, because it is. Empires figured this out thousands of years ago. If you can control the symbols, you just need to control what people react to. People have to adopt the symbols. Now people are shaped by metrics and algorithms and visibility and approval signals. There's a very secret name for what all these things are, and they are called conditioning signals.
Conditioning signals.
Yeah. What's one today? Because I thought when he was playing this video, obviously, I always wondered why, this motion for Hitler, but I guess it didn't really matter what motion it was, as long as they did some kind of a motion that signals, right? Hail Hitler. Um, what signals today or symbols can you think of, Neethi, that we see today that is conditioning everybody?
Mm.
And we do that to what?
Anyone that we are subject to, it feels like, I mean, you could be honoring someone this way. Sometimes it could be an honorable thing. What about this?
I was just going to say, this is a big one. This we do at in school, at games, the Olympics, maybe even some entertainment with singing or something. But that's a big one.
It's a total lie. It's a total lie. I mean, just starting with one nation. We're 50 nations, number one. And they say one nation under God. No. Also, we're not a theocracy. Why don't we just start right there?
And that was their start of the one world government, right? One nation. No, we're 50 nations.
Right. That's right. Let's go on. Let's continue.
Whatever gets rewarded gets repeated. Whatever gets ignored disappears. So people adopt. They simplify themselves. They exaggerate themselves. They flatten their entire personality into something that's shareable. So they become more extreme, more predictable, more performative. So people aren't asking, is this how I feel? They're asking, how will this be received by other people? And over time, something breaks. Because when your external performance doesn't match your internal experience, there is one universal response. We feel hollow. This is the death of authenticity. Which brings us to layer number 2, human conditioning.
So in order to condition people, you have to break them. And this is a big deal because there are so many people. I can't tell you how many young mothers I know that are completely shattered and broken because they're like comparing their Facebook page or Instagram page or something to someone else's, or they're trying to, like just, what do they call it? You're comparing yourself to the Joneses or whatever. I've never been this
trying to
girl.
keep up with the Joneses.
Keep up. Yeah. I mean,
no,
I have never understood this. Like, why do you care what other people think? And but that is the conditioning, and it's probably why I've always been in trouble, is because I can't be conditioned because I just don't care that much. But but most people do. I mean, most people really are devastated if they can't put on the best show, the best, I guess
wear the best clothes, have the best. I had a friend of mine who asked me, oh gosh, and I'm gonna, because I'm not a name brand either, but it's Tory Burke, right? Oh. She said something about, I'm good, my husband's gonna buy me a pair of Tory Burke shoes for Christmas, and I'm like, who the hell is Tory Burke?
Right.
and then she shows me, and I'm like, oh, the shoes are like, I don't know, $1,000. I'm like, why would you buy $1,000 shoes? But in any case, I mean, I guess, I don't know. Are they high quality? Will they last 20 years? I don't know. Maybe it's worth it. But nonetheless, and I don't think the reason was because of the quality and how long they'll last. It's more about the stature and the, wearing that label and how that label makes you feel.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, quality matters. I'll pay for quality all day long.
Oh, yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I won't probably remember the name of it, I mean,
Yep.
It's like, oh, I want the best whatever leather something. But I'm not, I mean, and I'll pay for it, but most of our handmade things but that has nothing to do with a brand,
Nope.
And but in this case too, like when they're breaking everyone, and I see this every day, Tammy, it's so awful when apparently I know a lot of the babies are going through this where they're just like, but so and so, blah blah blah. I mean, when we were coming up, you had your friends at school, and then all of us would want to be like some of the more popular people, maybe where they have the Jordache jeans, or remember those Converse where you could change out the colors of the Converse thing or whatever, like it's always some little thing,
something, the shoelaces or something,
some novelty thing. But
you're trained from a very early age to think those things are important.
Yeah, but they are making it so much worse now. I mean, it used to be we were trying to covet maybe these jeans or the shoes or something, okay? But now it is an entire lifestyle.
Right.
I mean, and people literally are committing suicide over it.
Yeah. I've known people where they're driving an expensive car, BMW, they're wearing expensive clothes, they go for expensive spa treatments, and then go to their house and their house is falling apart. Shingles falling off, dry rot, siding and all sorts of, but it's about the image, right? Like not everybody gets to see their house, but everybody gets to see them when they go out in the world. And so it's all about the image. It's really just a broken society in this aspect. People putting their focus and attention on all the wrong things.
Yes. Again, friends, we want everyone to know that it's never too late for you to just change your mind. So let's go back and see what they're talking about next.
Once this is in place, training is what replaces learning. And they do this through algorithmic reinforcement, repeated narratives, emotional escalation, social punishment, visibility rewards. Information has to change shape because information creates understanding. So the system replaces information with content. And this brings us to layer 3.
Okay, this becomes a lawful legal issue. What is information? Information is evidence of a crime.
Well, and it's all information is also evidence to back up. It's factual, right?
Right, and they have replaced that with content. So nothing is
gibberish.
True. Nothing is real. None of it is factual, and their content is, lies and bullshit.
Yeah, it's empty. You can't back it up with any true evidence.
It's the theater, friends. This is the theater that we keep saying, exit stage left. Like, no, thank you. We're not interested in the content. We're only interested in what is real. Okay, I'll continue.
The collapse of information. So what's the difference between information and content?
You have to share the screen, Neethi.
Information.
Oh.
It's not up for people to see. There you go.
Sorry, let me, okay, back it up. There we go.
This is information with content.
Sorry.
And this brings us to layer 3, the collapse of information. So what's the difference between information and content? Information answers questions and content stimulates responses. Most of what fills your feed, it's not meant to be important. It is meant to occupy attention, trigger emotion, maintain your engagement, and prevent silence from entering your life, because silence is where thinking happens.
Yeah, and when he was flashing some of those images of what looked to be, like a war zone,
Mm,
what came to mind for me is the movies, right?
mm,
How do people actually know factually that things over somewhere were actually bombed and attacked?
mm.
Our media is one big lie. And they have the capacity, just like they do in the movies, to make it look like something has been blown up, right? There's
Right.
all sorts of computer generated scenes and all sorts of different things that they can do nowadays to make you believe that something actually happened when it may or may not have even happened, you know? And this is something for that's why I tell everybody, just shut the TV off. There's no need for you to watch any of that bullshit. It's all lies, maybe mixed with some little tiny bit of truth. And they're just a bunch of talking heads that have a script that, they just keep on talking, and they all say the same things because it's all written out for them. It's not really anything going on locally that's true.
And it's not from their own creative mind. When we're having conversations, we're having these thoughtful conversations. They're reading a script.
Yeah.
And so we're not actors, we're the ones that are, we don't have written scripts. We are, just giving it to you straight. This is real talk.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how offensive real talk is for those people who are so deeply conditioned and
Yes.
indoctrinated, and they can't, they're not open to hear any of
Yeah.
the things that anybody has to say. They can't, they're the ones that can't handle the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting to me. That we have, and this is a label, but I'm going to use it effectively,
Mm-hmm.
is that we've got snowflakes here, like people that
Yeah.
literally fall apart and can't handle the truth.
Yes.
I mean, I've always said, I don't care how bad it is, just tell me the truth. I'll deal with it. Right?
Right.
Tell it to me straight. I don't need you to sugarcoat it. I don't need you to
Yeah.
walk on eggshells. Just give it to me straight.
And Tammy, I don't think we're unique. I mean, this is what happens when you come of age. When you are of the age of majority, you should be able to handle the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, somebody failed you somewhere. And at that moment, you can also, by the way, reparent yourself
Yeah.
and get with the program. Not with the actual program, but get with what's real, and that's so easy to do, and it's free. You just go outside, take your shoes off, plant them firmly on the ground, and look up at the sky, and just stand there until you have the correct thoughts coming to you. I mean, this is where I really love doing like barefoot nature walks.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, honestly, Neethi,
Mhm.
even with that, they have villainized, right?
Mhm.
They call people that do that, hippies or tree huggers or, whatever the case may be, because they don't have the knowledge of what the benefits are from doing these things. And they might call
Oh,
you
no, they
crazy.
do. Hey, I disagree with you. They know, but they don't want you to
Right.
do it.
Intuitively, they know. They're not connected yet. That's the thing. They're
Well,
not connected.
the people that are branding you don't want you to do it because they try to make it unpopular, right?
Yes.
They try to make it controversial.
Right.
Those are the people you got to watch out for, like the tin hats, and anybody who is connecting to nature is
And
you
being
know,
a critical self-thinker. Anybody who's asking questions, they villainize.
right. Also, they're dirty. Also, they just, they're like, oh, they're dirty and they're this and they're that, oh, they aren't, they don't have what it takes. They don't have it.
My dad grew up in Brooklyn, right? So he's a city guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he had cousins that lived in Connecticut, and he would call them, the country folks.
Yeah.
And he said that he remembers going out visiting them, and all of them as kids were running around barefoot. And he's like, what is all these, like redneck, like Hickville, and he had all these words for them. And it's so funny. I remember him telling me these stories because he made it seem like they were so far behind, and that my father came from an area that was so advanced, right?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, but isn't it interesting that they actually were doing things to keep them healthy and strong, and,
Right.
and you're living on a concrete jungle,
I mean,
wearing shoes and not getting grounded. So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, and so the indoctrination is very strong. It's very strong, and for many years.
Right. And, okay, so it's basically like 2 generations. It doesn't seem like that's all it is, but that's a vast majority of it. And as far as the older people go, they were more often, I guess, barefoot, for lack of terms, but like they were free to go get dirty and then come back and need to, wash up or whatever.
Yeah.
But right now, most of the young people are in a sterilized environment 24/7.
Right.
And that's frightening, actually.
And they're constantly sanitizing. Have you ever seen a germaphobe that constantly is
You mean
washing
everybody?
hands?
You mean everybody else?
Putting hand sanitizer on, and if something falls off their plate and goes onto the table, they throw it out instead of eating it because they think it's got germs, like all these things that these beliefs that people have that is just false.
They're false beliefs.
They're fearful of the germs.
Of the dirt, I remember when we were coming up, it was like, God made dirt, dirt don't hurt.
Yes, I remember that. That's hysterical.
I know.
I used to make mud pies as a kid.
We did too, and we used to season them with sand and leaves. We would, that was us frosting our mud pies. We'd be putting, but anyway. All right, let's move on to the next thing.
This is why everything feels urgent. You feel engaged. You feel aware. You feel more mature. But nothing ever resolves because resolution ends the engagement cycle. It's designed to make you feel like you're participating in it. Which brings us to layer number 4, fear and identity control.
This is what I observe in a lot of the young people. Is that, they only know how to pretend to be part of something, and everything everybody says is great. They accept it all, and everything's wonderful, and everybody should be heard, and it's all a great idea, and everyone should get an award. And also, no, like, where is the discernment of what is actually true and what is actually happening? You can't just say, oh, but everything's great all the time while you're being literally manipulated by, what are you witnessing this as well, Tammy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And well, I think that comes from a place where our younger generation has not learned, including myself, until recently. I didn't have these skill sets appropriately anyway, but I'm talking about the art of being able to argue and to be able to come up with your own critical thoughts and ask good questions. Even if you question, if you're listening to somebody, are you really listening to them? And then absorbing it in your mind, and then being able to ask critical questions,
Mm-hmm.
like the thought-provoking questions that you were able to, internalize the information that they were speaking, and not quick. Like, so what I've also noticed is that our generation, if they're not if they haven't resonated up to a higher level and they're still operating on a low vibration frequency, what I've noticed is that they're easily triggered.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't fit that label that they're all a part of in this group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you start asking questions, and all of a sudden, instead of, if you present information that may be different than their thoughts, right, and what they're
Mm-hmm.
presenting, instead of debating your information, now they start personally attacking.
Right. It used to be, okay, so, there's that art of the pause and, allowing something to just be absorbed. It used to be our conversations, like what they just said, everything's urgent. So they also feel like they urgently have to respond like this, it's a constant hit. And it's like, no, like, calm down. We're talking, I say something, we can just sit with it. You say something, we can just sit for a minute. Like, that's how it used to be, is like you would say something, I'd be like, oh. And
Right.
then after we thought about it for a minute or two, then I'd say, but okay, you just said this, but what do you think about? And our conversations would be at this. I mean, people used to lean and
Right.
talk,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was like chill.
Yep.
And now everybody's like, ready to go.
Right.
Ding, ding, ding. Everything's like on a clock. And, but we used to just relax,
Yeah.
sip our lemonade or
One thing,
bourbon or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, everybody used to just like relax and have a sip and then go, oh, okay. Well,
absorb it.
yeah, like what about something, but there is always
A hurry.
everything's an emergency. Like
Yes.
you're supposed to be hanging out with friends and you're at the place hanging out with friends. And if you're only thinking about all the things that you're going to do tomorrow, you're not here hanging out with your friends.
You're not in the present, that's for sure.
Right. Most people can't be right here because they're already 10 miles down the road. And it's like, well, why did you even come here if you're just gonna, run down the street? But this is what they do, and it's really difficult. I don't know what, but our outreaches over here in the flesh have been wonderful. We've had a lot of people come, and when they're asking their questions, then there are a lot of really intelligent folks who have done some study, and then they come and they're like, but what about this? This is where why do I need to do that? Because I already am right here, but we can slow it down and say, well, then you have to explain the whole as it is bound, it must be unbound thing and, go through the whatever.
Yeah.
But until we are able to have that conversation and breathe and relax and just know, hey, I want to understand you. And thank you for wanting to understand what I'm saying or comprehend. We want to comprehend what each other's sharing. And we are genuinely interested. That's that authenticity, friends, is that I have to really be interested in what Tammy has to say. And Tammy has to be interested in what I have to say, even if at the end of it, we're like, oh, okay, but I don't really agree with you, but okay, fine.
Well, you know what I think has happened, Neethi, especially when we're thinking about perhaps, our generation versus the younger generation. In our generation, you already have a label. So if you don't fit the label, then you're already dismissed, right? Like they've already discounted anything that you have to say because it doesn't go along with the label.
Oh.
Right.
Well, that's sad.
And then with the younger generation, and these are just things that I've observed, with the younger generation, I don't think that they want to they don't want to learn about what is real, what's happening for real in in our surroundings, right? They want to put their head in the sand and say, "Oh no, that doesn't exist in my world," you know.
Oh, well,
And
yeah,
it's like,
my
well,
truth,
hey,
that must be your truth. It's not my
yes,
truth.
yes,
Yeah, you're
yes.
just like, okay, no, friend, that's not how this works at all. And, but also that in a second, they're going to figure out that that means that they're just having a friendship or a relationship with themselves barely, and they're not even happy with that because it's a complete lie, right?
Yeah.
That's sad. Okay, shall we go back?
Yeah.
Humans evolved to survive in small groups where exclusion meant death. That wiring has never changed. Belonging used to come from family and tribe and shared work with other people, but now it comes from follower counts and group identities and digital approval. So conformity is enforced with social threat. You're quietly warned and you're shown that not reacting might be suspicious. Questioning the frame is dangerous. So people react publicly. Why? Fear of ostracism.
Oh, yes. This is a big one.
That's so sad.
I think that even when we're talking about like state national stuff, right? I know for me, the first thing I said was, what do you mean I have to exit the system? Does that mean like I'm exiting society altogether? Like, what does this mean? And there was a sense of fear, right? Of not belonging.
Right. I mean, because you're just like, does that mean I don't get to be with my family anymore? Like,
Right.
What is this?
Does that mean that I'm not going to be a part of my community? Like, these are things that people have, it's a belief that is completely based on false ideologies and false information. And so, I think Neethi, you and I are living proof that, things don't really change as far as, exiting the system, so to speak, that we are still here with our 2 flat feet on the ground, and we are still, doing all the normal things that we would have done previously. And so, life hasn't changed that drastically for us. But again, it's this fear, right? False evidence appearing real.
I mean, it's been nice to get rid of the fear and the
Right.
worry, because look, it's really nice when you know things. And it's nice
Exactly.
because when you know when you know what is going on, then there's nothing to fear because you know what's going on, Isn't that
Right.
cool?
Yeah. And the interesting thing, talking about fear, years ago, in talking about fear, when I was in college, I had a great professor that it was actually a stress reduction class that he led, but there were so many life lessons in that class. And he was just an amazing professor. But one of the things that we discussed was, this fear, and he was the first person to introduce me to the, false evidence appearing real. And we started talking about this, and we said, one of the things that you can do to eliminate fear and worry is walk yourself through the most absolute horrific outcome. Right.
Right. Yeah. We did that in some class that I had too. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. And maybe they do this, at all colleges, I don't know. But if you could actually put yourself in the scenario of the worst possible outcome to happen and walk yourself back to how you would deal with that, right? And we did this exercise where it was like, okay, if you didn't get a good grade in this class and you failed it, then what? Okay. And then what? Right? Like, oh, I'd have to take it over. Okay. Well, what's the
worst thing about that?
Yes. Okay. Well, I have to pay for the class again. I'd have to put the time into it again. Okay. Or maybe I could take it in the summer, or maybe I could take it during the winter break. Or maybe there's an online version, right? Then you start coming up with all the solutions to the thing that you fear. And then it doesn't start, it begins to feel not so bad, right? Oh, okay. So those are my options. So if the worst case scenario, this were to happen, I've already worked out what the steps I would have to take to deal with it then.
Right. And 99% of the time when you do that, you won't need to ever use any of that stuff because, you thought your way
Fear is
through
just
it.
made up in your mind.
Yeah. You just
You're
are
probably
like,
like an A student and you got one bad grade and you think you're going to fail. So now you're worrying, right? And that was kind of the gist of what we talked about back then. But you could still apply it to anything you're fearful of today, right?
Of course. Yeah. Shall we continue?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I didn't know if you had another point about that before we go.
The fear of being labeled, being seen as one of them. It's constant.
I just have to say something. One of them. I'm one of them.
Yes. You don't want to be
one of them. I'm sorry. That just made me laugh every time he said it before too.
In the background of everything. And that is not accidental. And obviously social media didn't invent fear, but it multiplied it by orders of magnitude. And here's why. Fear scales engagement better than any other emotion. It speeds reaction. It reduces nuance. It increases sharing, and it locks your memory in place. So the system learns. It tracks what spikes your heart rate, what makes you comment, what makes you argue, what makes you pissed off, and it feeds you more of that shit. Every post is a potential punishment that we're dealing with. Hate, panic, fear, and anger become advertising products. The longer you stay emotionally activated, the more valuable you become in real dollars.
Why does it all have to come back to banking every single time?
Yeah. Well,
every single time.
Yeah. Well, and they say that money, and I'm going to say a graven image, right? The graven image is the root of all evil, right?
Well, the love of it.
Yeah.
If that's all you can focus on.
Well, and the worship of it.
The worship of it, because thoughts are just things. And if you keep thinking them, your beliefs are what they are. Well, if your belief system is you can't plan a vacation, you can't have joy, you can't do whatever without looking at your job schedule, which is revolving around your worship of the money, and you can't admit that your job is because of the worship of the money, and you can't think about anything outside of that because of the job, because of the worship of the money, but then you don't worship money because that's not what you really worship in your own mind. You don't really think that because you think you're being responsible. You think you're taking care of your family, your sons and daughters. But if you were able to stop and think about, and I'm not saying everybody's supposed to be minimalistic or something like that. But if you can get your mind outside of that hamster wheel for just a little while, you might find that you can create resources, which might be money, okay? But you can create those resources a lot more effectively and efficiently when you have time to think.
Yeah, and I think what comes to mind for me, especially when I see that dollar, is how people would, some, not all of us, but some would and have lie, steal, cheat, and manipulate all for that dollar. And when it comes down to it, $100 bill, really what is worth 6 cents to print it?
Well, and it might be the position at the job that you lied for. And when you monetize that, a lot of times it isn't worth more than $100. It might be the same thing really when you think about it later. But these things are it's so important about what you're doing and how you react and act and how that causes harm. And that's the bigger problem, is the worshiping of the money that makes you make the certain choices and decisions. that
Yep.
result in a harm. And I mean, a lot of times you're harming yourself mostly, but you're also harming your sons and daughters, your husband or wife, someone else around you, because maybe they just needed that 5 minutes with you, or an hour, or a day. There's a lot more things to consider, but they don't allow you the time to think.
Right. You're always kept busy and run ragged and worried, and your adrenals are taxed out. So then you're tired.
Mm-hmm. And
Then you
not
need that
sleeping.
coffee, and then you need that energy drink. And it all boils down to all the things that they could provide for the things that they're creating, right? They're creating all these things, these ailments and
The
these situations. Yes.
deprivation of all of that, and the light abuse, the abuse of the light at night, which causes you not to be able to sleep. So now you're an insomniac or whatever, and then your hormonal disruption as a side effect of the
Yes.
of the white light in your face all the time, or whatever, the whole time. Oh my gosh! Sorry, I touched it
Yep.
and it just went crazy. All right, let's get back to it.
Fear has to be sustained. A stable identity does something dangerous. It resists manipulation. But the system is very clever. You are kept in a constant state of moral emergency. Every week there's a new crisis, a new outrage, some new villain that's prepackaged for you, a new law being passed, a new line that you're expected to know. It creates what looks like clarity, but it isn't. Something detonates emotionally, that it's immediately buried by the next thing. That's identity fragmentation. When people don't have time to form their values slowly, they accept a prepackaged moral frame. These are ready-made positions, approved language, approved emotions, approved enemies. Morality stops being something that we develop, and it becomes something that we display. Signaling replaces moral reasoning. Virtue becomes a lapel pin. Ethics become performative. Belief becomes a freaking costume. And once morality is externalized like that, it's easy to control.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're muted,
Oh,
Nikki.
sorry. I said there's so much to say about that. Morality is not relative, friends. It is objective. It is aligned with the truth, and immorality is aligned with lies. So when you're operating in theater, it is a straight up lie, and it's
Yep.
immoral.
Yeah. Well, and I think about all the things on the TV that, do all the things that he just described. I think
Mhm.
back to 9/11, and then I
Mhm.
think back to, even just recently, right? Jeffrey Epstein and releasing of his files, where we got to see all the names that were being revealed that were involved in, all of his crimes. And then
Mhm.
bam, we're in a war with Iran, like, not we, we didn't go
We're
to
not.
war. We're not. They
We're at
are.
peace over here,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
These are corporate mercenary conflicts. There was no declaration of war. Anybody out there in YouTube land, we really need you to comprehend that, dead corporations, dead fictions on paper, they can't declare war.
Right.
Only living men declare war, and living men are not going to fight over the money. Actually, that's what the corporations are doing.
Yeah. And I think I'd like to just drive this home a little hard for the people, because this was a hard concept for me to understand, is that,
Mhm.
well, there are living men and women that serve in that democracy. So why can't that democracy uh you know um declare war? You know?
because they were human trafficked and formed into a corporation, and they don't know who they are because they think that they are this, and they're always trying to find some card or piece of paper or something to show you their hall pass. They've been trained to believe that if they want to move around freely or do whatever they want to do, they have to be able to prove to you, look how important I am.
Right.
This is my special pass, or this is my diploma to tell you how smart I am, or how great I am, or what my accomplishments are. Or they have to give you their resume, of all the things that make them so great, because they can't otherwise be great. And we're here to tell you that you were just born worthy beyond belief. And the fact that you just stand before them and have appeared is a gift, because they have now been able to identify you in the wild. You're right there. It's like,
That's a hard
wow.
concept for people to wrap their head around. But more importantly, the people that we hired, our federal subcontractors, they are a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And every man and woman
they had to be
that organization is
Mhm.
also a corporation.
Yeah.
And like you said, corporations cannot declare war. Only living men in the proper capacity Congress can actually declare war.
And not this fake corporate Congress under Trump and the corporation. We're talking about the American real living sovereigns, not the fake corporation. And so what everybody thinks is the U.S. Congress. I mean, it is the U.S. Congress. It is what it says it is.
It is.
But you don't know.
It's a corporation.
But you don't know that it's a corporation, if you think that it is okay.
And Nikki, can you tell everybody why can't a lawful government be a corporation?
Why can it not be?
Yeah.
A lawful government can't be a corporation because, first of all, the corporation is an air jurisdiction item. This is all jurisdictional. So first of all, this is the corporation is just this piece of paper. If this piece of paper was to accidentally get burnt, I'm not going to have a funeral for the paper. But
you're not.
I'm not. I'll just be like, oh dang, we're gonna have to reprint that, right? But if something were to happen to my friend Tammy, I'm gonna be devastated. Okay, it's not gonna be like this piece of paper at all. She's not this piece of paper. She is leaps and bounds and quantum leaps away from being just this piece of paper. So a corporation doesn't have a consciousness, doesn't have all of the infinite intelligence that Tammy Healy has access to.
But there are living people that are working that corporation.
Well, when they are participating as this fake and phony entity, they're officers that are on the paper. And at that moment, they are also just a piece of paper that they're just contracted in as this piece of paper. So
who did they contract with?
The employees.
Oh, who are the employees?
So the employees are the foreign subcontractors in the case of it. Well, we also have domestic subcontractors, but there are foreign and domestic subcontractors. But at this red hot minute, all of them are foreign subcontractors. I don't think I don't know that there's very many. I don't think there are any that are declared. I mean, because we've actually talked to Trump about declaring, and he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, he wants to say a British subject. He's buddy with Prince Charles there. So
I mean, these people are all knighted. Y'all need to really. Why would, Tammy, any of our American generals bend the knee to the Queen of England? Why would they do that?
Because they work for her, because they are also a corporation.
Subjects of
they're subject to that jurisdiction and subjects to the queen. So they
This
work
is
on
all,
people's
this is all jurisdictional, friends. You have to comprehend jurisdiction to
Mhm.
really get this. But hey, if you filled out the paperwork, because you did, to go to the job, to work for the corporation, so therefore you are the paper. Don't they just, a lot of times, a lot of places where people work, I think, Tammy, they give you guys a badge or something, right? Or
Right. Yeah, an ID of some sort to get into the building or something. But um, and,
permission.
and
They
we recommend those people, when if you are applying, that you always sign your name, your byline when you're signing your name, all rights reserved without prejudice, and you could even put, living woman, living man,
V.C. You can do a
Yeah,
lot of things.
yeah,
There are very many ways for you. I mean, we can have a whole show. We should do a whole show about how you can work for corporations, because we have superior, concurrent, general jurisdiction in all the realms. So we can participate in all of these realms. We're not knocking it.
right.
But when you are being represented as a paper for other papers, that's pretty dangerous, because you
And
have
international law requires
that you do it this way. But also, in that realm, you have no responsibility as a living man or woman, versus the fact that I have to honor the natural law. I can do no harm.
right. Yeah, in the corporate world, that's why you have a corporate veil and you have, limited liability,
Mhm.
and
Even though they are required to, they have a usufructory duty not to do any harm either.
right,
But they can just, if you want to go after them, they can just dissolve this and, dissolve it, throw it in the garbage, and it isn't held liable. It's not. But versus me or you, if I did that, I could be hung.
right. And people are still, see, this is all theater.
Right.
This is all theater, and people are still scratching their heads wondering, how are these people committing these kinds of crimes when they're not getting arrested for it?
Because they're following a script.
Right. And they're protected.
They're pretending. So while they are operating in that corporation, which is airy fairy imagination, and then they fill the paper out to go to there and work. So they're all just papers. They all can just throw their paper away.
Right.
They can just throw the paper away and just quit it. Right. But I can't just, I'm not going to just burn myself and go, like, I'm right, Tammy, we're not going to do that.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, the point that we're trying to make is that it's all theater.
Yeah.
It's all one big act with a script.
Airy
And
fairy.
we over here in the American government, we are the real deal. We're real living men and women
Of substance.
Yep. And we've declared it and published it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see where he goes with this. This isn't very much longer, you guys, I promise.
Yep.
It was pretty quick. It's why we really like it also.
Because it's a simulation. It's fake. It can be updated remotely. You can see it in how fast people switch positions. And it's not because they learned some new information. It's just because the frame got changed. And here's the most unsettling part, as if the other ones weren't. People start to feel relief when morality is handed to them, because it removes responsibility. They don't have to think, they just have to align. And alignment feels safe when fear is everywhere. If identity and morality are programmable, division of human beings becomes super easy. And that all comes down to one huge manipulation tool. This is layer number 5, narrative warfare. So
I have to say, like, this is the moment where the scripts are such a big deal. And you have to be able to identify a narrative versus what the truth is. So I think that we observe this on our assemblies all the time, Tammy. You know, there are these narratives that are being sold to people when, and it's insanity, because there is a actual true situation going on, and it is plain and simple and clear. You know, I've been told by people on my assembly that the fact that I try to simplify things is the problem. What does Anna say about the truth, Tammy?
Yeah, she says that the truth is simple. You know, I mean, I do believe that there are processes that need to be put in place, but you know, and I was having this discussion with somebody else the other day, you know, when we were reviewing like an election process. And she said she received another state's election process, and it was like, I don't know, over 30 pages long. And she said, I'm just going to simplify it. Like, this is too complicated. 30 pages, you know? And so we got into a conversation about, you know, simplifying it. And I agree. It needs to be simply laid out there. It doesn't need to be complicated. You know, men and women like to complicate things. And like you said, the truth is not complicated. The truth is very simple.
I don't think men and women like to complicate things. I don't. I mean, I think that it is the corporate training that wants to make it complicated because they want you to believe that you can't handle the truth. They want you to believe that you can't do the thing. There's nothing you can't know, and there's nothing you can't do if you decide that that's what you want. If you want to know it, you're going to be able to know it. If you want,
you'll learn it.
Yeah, if you decide I am going to do open heart surgery and I'm going to be good at it, you will.
Right.
All of us
it's all
don't.
about your thinking.
Yeah, it's what you want to do. Like, I mean, many of us would be like, that's too complicated, too scary, too risky, too whatever. But if somebody really wants to do it and be really good at whatever it is that they do, I mean, I'd like to see another man try to stand between them and their passion to try to want to do that. Yeah. When does that ever work?
My aunt always used to say, where there's a will, there is a way.
And there is always a way. Anytime that we're presented with any obstacle, our Creator made sure that we knew there's always a way.
Yeah.
And there is nothing to fear except fear itself, right?
Exactly.
Shall we continue?
Yeah, let's do it.
Modern news is not here to report on reality. It's designed to completely and totally construct narrative frames. It decides who's a victim, who's a villain, who's righteous, and what questions are allowed. The facts are completely optional. So here's the mechanism. An event happens, immediately the story arrives fully formed, and you're told how to feel, who to blame, what it means, and which side you're on. And all this happens before you have time to think. Facts don't radicalize people. Narratives do that because narratives come with heroes and enemies and moral certainty and urgency and full-blown permission to hate people. One detail gets amplified, another gets buried, context gets removed until complexity completely disappears. Nuance is always the first casualty here because nuance slows reaction time, and reaction is the product. This is how deliberate demonization works. You don't argue with the other side, you just dehumanize them.
That's something that we see happening all the time.
Yeah, and we, you know, that was something that, you know, we were talking about just a few minutes ago, is that you're demonizing somebody, right? He said dehumanize them.
Right.
But you know, these are tactics that we see out there on social media, you know, constantly.
And on the assemblies.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't think I have ever seen so much demonization anywhere in anything that I have ever been a part of in my life.
It's crazy.
It really is. But you know, when you're on the precipice of freeing all men from bondage.
Right, right. All I have to say about that is facts and evidence. Facts and evidence. That's it.
Right. But they take that facts and evidence and turn it around. So you do have to use also your discernment,
Discernment.
and you really need to be honest with yourself. And most people are just still lying to themselves and stuck on what are other people going to think about what I think about that. And they don't
Right.
use their discernment because they're so stuck on what are other people going to think about what I think about that.
Yeah.
Instead of, sorry.
No. You continue.
Yeah, I
Instead
just
of,
mean that if you can see something, if I can see Cookie Monster's hand in the jar, and I'm saying, hey, I see Cookie Monster's hand in the jar. And then you say, are you sure you see Cookie Monster's hand in the jar? Because I heard that Cookie Monster wouldn't really ever put his hand in the jar. And then I said, but I can see it. And then you say, but nah, are you sure that you see that? And then somebody else said something, and Tammy goes, well, Niti thinks she sees him, Cookie Monster's hand in the jar, but I'm sure she doesn't, because that's not really
right.
possible. And I'm
That's
like,
gaslighting.
yeah, but I'm like, but I can see it. And then everybody's all like, I think Niti's crazy because you can't really do that. And I'm like, but I can see his hand in the jar.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting times, and trying to keep people morally upright and in the space of love, kindness, compassion. There are a lot of people that take the stance, an accusatory stance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of coming at it with questions, right?
Right.
So, Niti, tell me why I don't see Cookie Man's hand in the jar. Can you tell me what are you looking at? Can you describe it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And like you would ask questions. Like I think we have to start, instead of coming at people in an accusatory and instantly thinking that they're doing evil things, or they're
Mm-hmm.
doing something dishonest, whatever. We have to start asking questions, right? So if you just accuse somebody of something, okay, can you tell me why do you think that?
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
hey,
what are you
Tammy, if you come over here on North Carolina, because maybe from New Jersey, you can't see it, right? But if you come here on, okay, like I'll just use, there are, I have the food churches over here in this area where we have, it's in kind of an industrial, like flex space, right? So there are these pods outside, right? Like people have these different pods sitting around. So the way I can see the pod, I might can see the hand. But where you might be on the other side, you probably can't.
right?
And if you walk around to two different sides, you might still not see it.
Yeah.
But you'd have to come all the way over here and be like, oh my God, his hand is in there.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's the problem, is you have an entire world of these people that are like, nah, there's not the truth. There is my truth and your truth. No, there's your perspective, but that
Yeah.
pod is there. And
Right.
you might need to walk all the way around it and over it and see it with maybe we need to run a little overhead cam or something. I don't know, because, it might be too tall and you can't see that far or whatever. But when you can see it from all the different angles, then you might say, oh my gosh, there is Cookie Monster.
Yeah, there
Right
he is.
there.
Oh my goodness. I didn't see it before. Thank you for, having me come around so I could see it from your perspective.
Yeah, your perspective, your side of the box, which could be gigantor and bigger than all of us, right? It might
Right.
be bigger. Anyway, how are you on time before I continue this? Because we can maybe continue it next time, because I don't want to mess up your schedule and I know that you have somewhere to be.
Yeah, that's okay. We could do that.
Continue or next time?
Oh, we could save this for next time. Let's
Yeah.
continue this. I think there's half of it. We got through half of it. It was a short video, but there's so much great information in there.
Yes.
I think that can, help people get out of this indoctrination state of mind and out of this accusatory manner, and learning that we all have different perspectives, right?
Well, also that we're all interested or should be interested in helping each other.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
if we're not, that's a different conversation to have.
Right. Yeah. We're all here to support one another and to
Mm.
hear each other out,
Yes.
and
Well,
to come at that conversation in a humble way,
Mhm.
right? With grace.
Mhm.
And when that tone doesn't surface and there's a different tone that comes to the surface, you've got to start wondering, where does that stem from?
Mhm.
Where is this accusatory tone stemming from? Can you let's maybe reflect a little bit on that.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's just no reason for us not to want to succeed and, free all why are we not trying to free all men from bondage? Who isn't interested in that?
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And by the way, if I may, I'd love to
yes.
use this opportunity to just plug. The New Jersey Assembly is going to be in Burlington County, New Jersey, this Saturday at the Evesham Library,
Okay.
in Marlton, New Jersey, from 1 to 3. And we'd love to see everybody, that can be there. We'd love to have you there and come meet our assembly. That's our
Nice.
outreach that we're doing. And yeah, so I'd love to see everybody there. We are going to YouTube it live to
Wow.
our channel, the New
Mhm.
Jersey Assembly Outreach channel. So you could watch it. You could watch the playback. Anybody who wants to watch the playback. And our last county tour, we were able to correct one man's status. So it was great because we only had 6 people that showed up. We had a winter snowstorm that morning. So I didn't think we were going to get anybody, but we did end up getting 6, and out of the 6, 1. So it was a decent turnout, and a good fellow at that, who will
Nice.
make a really excellent addition to our assembly. And we're looking forward to meeting the people in Burlington County this Saturday. So
Wonderful.
hope to see you
Well,
guys
I
there.
can't wait. So we'll be able to see it live. You're gonna stream it live, or you're just gonna load it up live later?
Yeah, we're going to stream it live. We're going to try.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a really ambitious thing. I mean, I've always wanted to do that, and I feel like we would run out of power or something would happen before it happens. But that's wonderful. I'm really glad that you guys are making that effort, like that's a big deal. So
Yeah, we're excited for it. So we
we'll
hope.
be rooting for you over here. I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you much. Thank you much. And thank you for having me on today. I look forward to continuing this discussion next week.
Yes, everybody. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Okay. Have a great week.
Bye.
Oh, whoops.